It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. It makes me tend to leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. It's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten words and bonds and the ink stains that have dried upon some line. That keeps you in the back roads by the rivers of my memory. That keeps you ever gentle on my mind. It's not clinging to the rocks and ivy painted on their columns now that bind me. Something that somebody said because they thought we'd fit together walking. It's not knowing that the world will not be cursing or forgiving when I walk around the railroad track and find that you're moving on the back roads by the rivers of my memory, and hours you're just gentle on my mind. Though the wheat fields and the clotheslines and the junkyards and the highways come between us, and some other woman's crying to her mother 'cause she turned and I was gone, I still might run in silence, tears of joy might stain my face, and the summer sun might burn me till I'm blind. Not to where I cannot see you walking on the back roads by the rivers flowing gentle on my mind. I dip my cup of soup back from a gurgling, crackling cauldron in some train yard. My beard a rustling towel and a dirty hat pulled low across my face. Through cup hands round the tin can, I pretend to hold you to my breast and find that you're waiting from the back roads by the rivers of my memories, ever smiling, ever gentle on my mind.
And a wonderful Tuesday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you here with a midnight special. Grateful to see everybody. We got into Tennessee here a few hours ago, hour and a half ago, and we're trying to get ready for the show tonight. It's been a little slower than we thought. We apologize. We announced we'd be on by 11. We only missed it by 50 minutes, but that's okay. But we got a special treat for you tonight. It is good to have my dear buddy Rorlando Rodriguez from the Rio Grande Valley down on the border tonight by phone with me. Buddy, it's so good to see you. Last time me and you talked this late, you were driving cross country and stopped in to see me one night late after midnight, didn't you?
I sure did, Christopher, and it's always a pleasure and it's always a joy in my heart when we're on the phone talking, or especially when we get to see each other. You are a great patriot. You love America. You love this nation. You love God, and your show is always it's not only just a regular show. It's a blessing for the nation and a blessing for the people that follows you, because What we need now more than ever, Christopher, on the air is people with love for God and for our country, and that's Christopher McDonald.
Well, I tell you what, you just got hired to speak at the funeral and give my eulogy, okay? I'm just saying, brother. And you just remember all those things you just said now, okay? But just...
I sure will, but no, we still have Christopher for a long time.
Yeah, you know, there's several out there that I've told that they're never going to be able to speak at the funeral because they know the truth and they couldn't say those things without laughing. So anyway, hey, but it's seriously, it's good to see you tonight. And listen, it is a changed world since me and you last saw each other. Actually, you came this fall. It was before the election, and we were very concerned about the direction of the country. The country voted for President Trump, and you've been right down there on that border, Orlando and Ground Zero. And I know you travel a lot, but you've seen the results of the Trump presidency up close. I'm just curious, you want to talk about that tonight because, you know, this illegal alien immigration situation is still, we still ain't got all these gang members out, and there's still a danger, but at least we've got a president that is concerned and doing something about it. If the courts would get off his back and these Democrats would stop cackling and some Christians would keep their trap shut as well, complaining about everything instead of being thankful that we're trying to get the ones killing us with fentanyl drugs and raping and killing our women and kids and trafficking our kids out of the country.
Yes, Christopher. You know what? That night that I was able to stay at your house, I was very concerned about the future of our beautiful country, and I could notice that you were concerned also. You know, we both were concerned of, you know, for the future of America. I really believe that if the Democrats would have stolen the election again, like in 2020, or if simply, you know, President Trump would just lose the election, that would be in the end of America. I mean,
I do too, Rorlando.
Yes. So right now, this is what I believe. Okay, we are living just in a extension of the grace of God. That's it.
Yeah. What have you seen? What have you seen down along the border that's changed? I know that some of the figures I'm seeing that the apprehensions have dropped to nearly, you know, we're almost 50 to 100 a day. Now they're down to 3 a day on average around the Rio Grande Valley. And you were really on ground zero, buddy. I mean, Texas, I know that there was illegals coming across New Mexico, Arizona, California, but honestly, Texas was the main hub of these people coming across the border in Mexico, wasn't it?
Yes, Christopher, you know, like I think I mentioned this to you some time ago. I was born here in McAllen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley. I still have relatives across the border in Mexico, especially in the Monterey area, like a couple of hours from the border. And when my family came from Spain, you know, this is the area that we founded, you know, North Mexico and South Texas. So I have a lot of, my roots are here. I was born here in McAllen. I grew up here in the valley, but I crossed that bridge, that border, since I was a kid. I don't know how many thousands of times, okay,
yes.
Back and forth. And I had never in my life witnessed what I witnessed under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I really believe that they committed treason to America and to the American people. Why? Because I'm a witness, and you're a witness too.
Yes.
You came a couple of times.
Three times.
Yes. And I'm a witness of that this invasion was on purpose. They paid for this invasion. They paid for the people to come. They paid for the buses in Mexico to bring illegals up to the bridge. They paid for the airplane tickets, hotels, hot meals, showers, new clothes, bus tickets. I mean, you name it, everything, for the illegals. And they pay for the buses all along the river on the Texas side, just waiting for illegals to cross. Beautiful, nice, brand new buses, just waiting for the illegals. And I had never seen that before ever in my life in this area, only under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So I said to myself, this is not okay. I never seen this before. This is treason to America. They are doing this with our tax dollar money. And the other thing, that really bothered me, Christopher, is that in downtown McAllen, these buses were going to the Catholic charity across the bus station. I mean, you and me were there, in downtown McAllen. And one morning I went there, just to take pictures and make a short video there and everything. And I found, two old men were there, on their wheelchairs. One of them missing a leg, and it happened wearing their veterans cap. So it happened that these two old men were veterans, and they were in deep need of help, and they were getting nothing, but illegal were getting everything. Right. So another question, deep down in my heart, what is going on? Why this? And again, this is treason to America, treason to our veterans that went to fight for our freedom, treason to every American people in the nation. I mean, just treason. I mean, and I said, this is not okay, and this is on purpose.
Has there been a change in the atmosphere there, Orlando, among the people since Trump has taken office? I mean, I know that it's look, when we say safe is such a relative term. Look, I'll never will forget that day me and you had lunch, and you were actually I remember a lot of things about that third trip because we were trying to talk about a lot of things, and you wouldn't get out behind that tree because you was concerned that the cartels, and we started hearing gunshots, man. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy stuff. But I remember you saying that you just, when you're eating lunch there in South Texas, you don't know your waiter, the guy sitting next to you, the guy that's basically wiping the tables off. They could be cartel listening to every word you're saying, and you may not make it out of the parking lot alive, man. And I'm just curious if there's any of that. Does the people in McAllen and the South Texas area feel any safer tonight than they did when I was down there with you? Because I remember hearing them gunshots that day. It was crazy, man. It was nuts.
Yes. And not only that, Christopher, these people, they take pictures. I mean, that's why I stayed, behind the tree because I know they were taking pictures. Yeah. And I live here, and I don't want to be, in their list because sometimes I have to cross the border. I have to go to Mexico. Once in a while I do it, and when I do, when I go, it is like, you just don't feel safe. You're driving in Mexico and you're constantly watching your mirror to see who's driving behind you. Why? Because you just don't feel safe, and the cartels control everything in Mexico. So if, for example, if they start stopping people on any street across the border in Reynosa, and they start asking for the cell phones, and they find out that I'm a Trump supporter because, all my group chats is Trump, 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 I'm done. I mean, they don't let me go. They just kidnap me again, and even, they may even kill me. So, but now, at least on this side of the border, with President Trump, everything is different. Almost, I think is in this area, probably it went down to zero, the crossings of illegals. And it wasn't hard to do. But, President Trump, that was his promise. And as soon as he took office, things started changing. And right now the border is completely controlled. Thank God for that.
Well, and thank God for that, exactly. And that's good. Where do you think his greatest challenge is going to be, Rorlando? I know these courts. We've got Judge Sherilyn Allen coming Thursday night here, and she's going to discuss this with us. And I'm really excited to get her take on it. But it's got to frustrate you and the people of South Texas that have gone through this nightmare for the last 4 years to see these judges literally just thumb their nose at safety and be more concerned with getting Trump and being angry at him and so forth than doing what's right for the country. That's got to be frustrating.
Well, let me tell you something, Christopher. These judges in the Democrat Party, they work together with the globalists around the world, and they have an agenda, okay? And what President Trump is doing is not according to what they want, is not according to their globalist agenda. So one way or another, they're gonna say bad things about him and bad things about all the Republicans and all the conservatives. But this is a fight, Christopher, since I started the first Trump train.
Right, you did.
In 2020,
you did.
I remember that I got on the back of my truck. I pulled down the tailgate. I got on the back of my truck, and I started with a prayer, with a small group of people, about 13, 14 people. And I remember that beat down from my heart, these words just came out in my prayer. And I remember I said, this is a fight between good and evil. And you know what? That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. A fight between good and evil without knowing, Christopher, that they were going to steal the election in 2020, without knowing that Biden almost destroys America in 4 years, without knowing that they were going to open the border the way they did. Those words that came out from my heart in that prayer, this is a fight between good and evil, it came to pass. And it's still a fight between good and evil. Thank God for President Trump. And this is what I've been saying, and this is what I told to a lot of people in Wisconsin. I just got here like 4 days ago. I went to work and helped Mr. Brett Schimmel for the Supreme Court. And that's another story. I think they stole the election also. That's another story.
Yeah.
But this is what I told the people of Wisconsin. We have to be praying for President Trump every day praying for him. Because he's not only Christopher, fighting against the Democrats, okay? He's fighting against leaders from all over the world.
Yes, he is. What are your thoughts on these tariffs? I think all he's doing is leveling the playing field, is he not?
Well, let me tell you something. He just wants to play a fair game,
Yes.
Why? I'll give you an example. I live here by the border. Years ago, Christopher, I used to export from the United States into Mexico truckloads and truckloads of polyurethane. Okay. And for recycling in Mexico, I used to send this to big companies in Mexico City for recycling. Okay. My customers from Mexico City, they would buy me this material. And of course, they had to pay a 16% tariff on the material. Why? Because here at the border, when the truck would go into Mexico, we have to prepare the paperwork, so it can go through the port of entry legally in Mexico. But it goes with a 16% tariff, okay? Now, if you want to bring something from Mexico and import it into the United States, there's no tariff. I'll give you an example. I have a friend in Mexico. Well, back in those years, okay?
Right.
He used to own like 3 or 4 furniture stores in Mexico across the border. And one day he called me and he said, "Hey, Rolando, what if we export or me on this side import furniture made in Mexico to sell here in Texas?" And I told him, "Let's give it a try. Why not? It's brand new. It's beautiful furniture. And let's give it a try." So he said, "Why don't you go to the, how do you call it? The, and I have a bunch of offices here very close to my house.
Right.
Where they make all the paperwork, so you can import the merchandise legally into the United States, okay?" So I went there and I told them, "Hey, I plan to bring my first truckload of brand new Mexican furniture, to Texas, just to give it a try and maybe, be able to sell it here and make some profit." And they calculated, the cost for them just doing the paperwork plus the tariff of a truckload full of Mexican brand new furniture. It was $450, everything.
Wow, man. Wow.
That's nothing. That's almost no tariff, because like $250 was going to be for these people doing all the paperwork, and like $200, for the import. That's nothing on one full truckload. Now to Mexico to import a truckload, forget about brand new furniture. The material I used to send to Mexico City, Christopher, it was it was brand new material, okay? But it was for recycling purposes. And I used to pay like a little over $2,000 per truckload. There was the 16% tariff. So it was like like 4 times, more expensive to import into Mexico than to bring, something to the United States. And so I said to myself, "Oh my God, why the United States doesn't charge almost nothing to bring, from other countries, stuff to sell here in the United States?" And we can see it, Christopher. That's why here we see or people drives Toyotas, Hondas, Hyundais, Volkswagens, and you name it, Fiat from Italy, and all Mercedes-Benz, from Germany,
Right.
and all these brands of cars, because there is almost no tariff on all these merchandise. So what Trump is doing, he's doing exactly the fair game. Okay, how much do you charge me? 16%? Okay, I'll charge you 16%. How much to another country? How much do you charge? 20%. No problem. I'll charge you 20. That's a fair game.
Right. I'll agree.
You win, I win.
I'll agree, man.
Yes. Let's play just a fair game. Hey, they did not like it.
Well, I think you're stating the obvious, and I think that most people agree with Trump, at least ones that have got a reasonably sensible mind about it, and not listening to the media about it. I think that is a well described thing, buddy. Let me ask you a couple other questions. You mentioned a while ago our country, and we are seeing some good things in the country. I'm not saying that everything's bad, but I do believe that there's still a lot of room for improvement, Orlando, with some areas, and I still believe that we have got to rein in this judiciary, these judges, this corrupt election. You mentioned the situation in Wisconsin. I'm firmly with you. I will say this: the margin was very high for her to win, And I think that at some point we have to come to the conclusion and come to grips with the fact that we have a society that they want lawlessness. And there's a segment of at least society. We had a report, we did a story on it yesterday, last night here, and then we did it today on the radio show we do. And speaking of which, I may holler at you if you're home one day. I'd love to get you as a guest on our K-Star Talk radio show. But I do want to ask you about society in general. And when you've got 55% of the left believing that it's justified to assassinate President Trump, Rorlando, that's a spiritual problem. And I think that if we don't get our spiritual house in order in this nation, and that goes back to the church, it goes back to people of faith, I don't really think it's going to ultimately matter what President Trump does. Look, I'm tickled. I'm with you. This has been the greatest 80 days this country has seen in probably 16 years. And the things that he's doing is wonderful, but it's all going to be for naught if we don't use these things that he's doing to turn our hearts back to God. Because this is a spiritual war. I mean, it is a war, brother. Look, those cartels have nothing. And I put it like this: the forces behind those cartels are the same forces that want to see this nation go down. And I think we need to come to grips with that. Is that accurate?
Of course, yes. Yeah, this is totally a spiritual battle, Christopher. And I'm a witness of that. You know my testimony. I mean, I'm not gonna say it right now, but before I started the Trump train, like 2.5 years before the Trump train, I had a battle here in my area with the spiritual forces of this area. I did not know that there's a community of witches in the area.
Right.
And they came after me, you know, but I never thought that God was going to use me to start the first Trump train in the whole nation, and to not only that, but to turn this area that used to vote Democrat for over 100 years, and in 5 months, you know, turn it around at least 50-50 in 5 months, you know. This is in 2020. Now in 2024, I mean, many more people voted Republican than Democrat here in the area. So, I mean, the whole nation, especially the Democrats, you know, they say, hey, what's going on in the Rio Grande Valley? What's going on in Texas? Why the Hispanics are turning, you know, from Democrat into Republicans? So, you know what? I do really believe that our community, the Hispanic community, we moved the needle, you know, for President Trump so he could be in office. And that all came through prayer. It was a lot of work. I really spent like a couple of years, Christopher, working at least 18 to 20 hours a day. I mean, or working like day and almost all night also. Because when I started the movement, I just started receiving phone calls all day, text messages, and responding to people. I started like attending people on their personal questions why voting Republican, and organizing events all over the Rio Grande Valley and all over Texas, sometimes traveling to other states. And I'm still doing it. I went to support Mr. Brett Schimmel in Wisconsin, and just for your information, I may go again in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, to another state to support another conservative. So thank God, you know, for that opportunity. God has been using my life in you know, putting my doing my part, you know, what God has for me to do, you know. And but I believe, Christopher, that if every American, every patriot, especially Christopher, every Christian, if we would just work a little bit every day, we can turn this country around for, you know, for a long term.
Yeah,
a long term.
I believe that. Look, I'm not saying these things to be pessimistic. I'm optimistic because, Rorlando, look, we live in the best country in the world. There is absolutely no nation in the world that is more blessed and is more of a precious country than America, other than Israel, to me. And we've got a chance to get this right. And I guess what's frustrating me a little bit is that, it's like the children of Israel out in the wilderness when God, they shouldn't have been in the wilderness to begin with. But when they got out there, God provided for them. And even though it was his anger over their rebellion and the unbelief of those spies that put them in the wilderness, God blessed them. But they never ceased in that wilderness to stop complaining. And it bothers me to see a lot of Christians. And, people can say, well, they're Christians in name only. And I don't think we can put a blanket on this, because, look, there are some people that I know that have faith, but yet when it comes to our nation right now, they just seem to want to complain and bellyache and throw unbelief on things. And look, there's no worse disposition than somebody that has nothing positive to see, nothing positive to say. It's all negative. They make people, think something's more nefarious and evil than it really is. And look, there is evil in the world. There is evil in our nation. There's evil in government. Even with President Trump's government, there are forces behind this whole thing that want to see this government taken down. We got one of the best cabinets in the world, but you wouldn't know that listening not to the left. Look, the left's the left, but there's a lot of voices on the right that has still not, I think, come to grips with the fact we won. And I hate to believe if this is how we're acting while we're winning, is how we're going to act when this thing, if this thing goes bad again and we get another Joe Biden type candidate in 28 or 32 even. I mean, look, these folks ain't going to survive what's coming, Rorlando. We need to have some faith, don't we? Do we not?
We have to have faith, and we have to get, we have to get to work.
That's a big bingo right there.
Since right now. You know what I was telling people in Wisconsin, and also for when I campaigned for President Trump, and thank God I get the opportunity. I campaigned for him in only 2 counties in California, but mostly in Arizona, Nevada, and Michigan. And we turn all the 3 states around, okay? All these pending states. That's why God sent me there. God sent me to Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, and we turn them around. But this is what I would tell people in or everywhere I go. Get to work. Make a list of friends, make a list of relatives, make a list of all your neighbors that you know, and explain to them why we have to vote Republican. And sometimes I go a little further and say more than Republican, why we have to vote conservative.
It's conservative, exactly.
Yes, because in the Republican Party, Christopher, we have a lot of infiltrators, people that have infiltrated the party. So, like, for example, in a primary, we have to be very careful, who to vote for, because one can be the real candidate, a conservative candidate, and the other one can be somebody that just infiltrated the party. So we have to pray, we have to investigate and use our wisdom, who to vote for on the primaries, because we don't want a liberal, a Republic, or a liberal to infiltrate the Republican Party, then the liberal run against the Democrat, which is gonna be about the same thing, whoever wins.
Well, that's true. Hey, we got about, I'm with you on that. We got about 10 minutes, and before this time slips away from me, I do want to ask you about this Muslim epicenter that the news picked up. I know it's a little bit north of you in Plano and Dallas. And by extension, this is a question about Greg Abbott to you. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Where do you rate Greg Abbott's performance on all of this? And do you think that this is a serious threat with these Muslims setting up these little Sharia law cities? I was shocked that it's in your state, brother. I mean, look, Texas is red. I know people are trying to tell the country is purple. Texas is a red state, okay? But it just seems like there's a lot. You just mentioned it about the rhinos and the people that are posing as conservatives, and yet they're liberal. The Texas State House has been doing some awful things to undermine Abbott. But where is all this playing? And were you shocked when you heard about this big Muslim city near Plano, Texas, that they're basically thumbing their nose to the governor and basically going to make it into a Sharia thing, which is illegal in Texas? Sharia law is illegal in Texas, but they're saying we don't care. Whoever lives in this city is going to have to follow it.
You know what? That's very sad. That the government is letting these people, be there and building their community there.
Yes.
I have a question. For example, Christopher, if me and you, if we would go to Saudi Arabia,
right,
me and you, and we would like to just start a Christian church, would they let us do that?
Pardon me for laughing, Rorlando. You know what's going to happen, but keep asking your question. Go ahead.
We would never be able, to build a Christian church in their country.
No, we wouldn't.
So I think that this should be like the tariff. Hey, what you let me do, I'll let you do. So I really think that they should not be allowed to be there or to build any Arab foundation or Arab religion or Arab whatever, because at the end, Christopher, it's gonna be a threat to Texas and to America.
Yeah, it is.
It's gonna be a threat.
It is. Well, on that line, Rorlando, China tonight, basically today earlier, and I thought we had the story in our Telegram room. We'll put it up. But they basically outlawed Christian missionaries coming to China. And it's ironic because I saw another report that said that the Christian faith, the underground church in China, is thriving as big as it's ever thrived. You're not going to hear about it on Instagram or Telegram or Facebook or YouTube, but there's an explosion of faith going on as the heart of the communists try to stamp out Christianity in China. The more people are giving their heart to Jesus, but they're having to do it underground. And I'm with you. And again, it would be the same thing in China. If we went to a communist country, it wouldn't have to be Islam. Look, you can't just go to a nation and start a Christian church anywhere, because some of them will kill you. Some of them will kill you for it. And we're the only nation that allows our enemies to instead of assimilate with us, they seek to destroy us and divide us. And I'm with you. Look, got freedom of religion in the country. But when you start breaking our laws and you start basically thumbing your nose, like what they're doing in Texas, the issue to me is the legality of it. It's illegal. Sharia law is not allowed in Texas. But they're starting with Patterson, New Jersey. There's a similar situation in Patterson. And then you got Dearborn, Michigan, which is basically 98% Muslim and 2%, other faiths and Americans. Brother, they're taking this over from within. They're taking this over from within.
That is the plan.
Yes, it is.
That is the plan. Yeah, they're going to start cutting heads sooner or later. Yeah. You asked me the question about Greg Abbott. This is what I believe about him. For me, he's a 5, and that means that he has one foot on one side and the other foot on the other side. And how do I know that? You know why? Because since when Joe Biden took office and all this invasion of illegals started coming through Texas, Greg Abbott did nothing. You know why he started acting later? Because of the pressure of the people. But when everything started, he did not move a finger.
Right.
So, but he felt the pressure of the people, and he found out that the Rio Grande Valley turned red, and he felt more pressure because of that. And that's why he did it. But, he was like, oh, I don't want to I don't want to have enemies. I'll be on both sides. In these cases, we cannot be on both sides. We have to pick a side. It's either the good or the bad. There's no other choice.
Buddy, I'm with you. I'm with you. By the way, folks, we want to welcome you in tonight. I know we're late. This is a midnight special tonight, and I'm so grateful that my dear buddy Rorlando Rodriguez could join us tonight. I thought this might be past your bedtime. I figured you get your milk and cookies around 10 o'clock, Rodriguez, and you get into bed by then. But you stayed up with me tonight. I'm proud of you, man. But anyway, me and him, we go back a while. We like to rag each other. Hey, I want to ask you a question, and if you got a question for Rorlando tonight, folks, if it's on topic, put it in the chat room. We'll ask him. He can't solve the Lindbergh baby mystery or anything like that, but he'll talk to you about anything you want to about the border down there. What did you think about Trump's meeting with Netanyahu today and these other leaders? And they're capitulating, man. Look, Israel's basically saying, we're going to not charge any tariffs. We're going to get the trade deficit worked out, and India is doing the same. Japan, Italy, all these nations of Europe, these conservative leaders, Taiwan, is doing it. And I just think that the last holdout seemed to be China and Canada and a few of these other ones that are being a little stubborn, Macron and France. But Rorlando, I think Trump's holding the deck. I think he's got the moral high ground in this. He's got the political high ground in this. And, and I think that his unwavering support for Israel, even though there's some people that are concerned about some of the things he said today about Turkey, I think that Israel's got the best friend they've ever had in the White House in Donald Trump.
Yes, sure. Yes. Thank God for Israel. We always support Israel. Look, Israel had no other choice. He knows that all the support they get comes from it goes to Israel from this beautiful country. But thank God, for being wise and saying, hey, zero tariff. And that's a fair game. That is just a fair business, a fair game. You win, I win. In business, Christopher, everybody has to win. If it doesn't happen, then it's not business.
Yeah. Liz Goldman's got a great question. Do you think many illegals have gone back on their own since Trump came in office? I do. I think a lot of them have seen the handwriting on the wall. There are some that are going back kicking and screaming, but Rorlando, I have to tell you, look, they know that Trump means business and Holman means business and Pete Hegseth means business. This is not a game. This country, I think it's so refreshing to have politicians and leaders in office that do what they say they're going to do. Trump said we're going to clean this mess out. That's exactly what he's doing if you're here illegally. And I use an example I've been using a lot lately. There was a couple that was married 35 years here. They never one time in those 35 years got legal. They stayed illegal. They basically never got citizenship. Well, Holman's bunch found him and they deported him and the media went crazy. But the way I look at it, Rorlando, that's a slap in our face. If you're here for 35 years and you can't go to a citizenship center over 35 years and grant citizenship, and then you expect us to have sympathy on you, that's crazy. I'm sorry. That's not how it works here. It used to work that way, but it ain't working that way no more. And Liz has got a good question. I think a lot of these illegals, they're like, we don't want to mess with the bull, man, because we're going to get the horns if we do. And they're getting the horns.
Yeah, a lot of people is going again to the CBP app, but now they added to the name one more word, CBP Home. In other words, they go back to the app, the app they used to came into the United States. They're going into the same app, but now it's for them to go out.
To go out, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Only Trump can do that, man. Trump is the bomb when it comes to that. Pat and Deb Dolan, good to see y'all tonight. They're asking a good question. They said, how does Mexico feel about Trump? I know you're down there on that border. What's your people in Mexico, how they feel about Trump right now? I know how they felt about Biden. They loved him to death because he laid down and let them run over our country. And Trump's pretty much put the Mexican president on notice. And Orlando, I believe she's part of these cartels, honestly. I think she's cartel herself. But what do they think about us?
She's part of the cartels, I know. I have some information that I may share with you later.
Yeah.
Christopher.
Sure.
But it is awful. Look, there's two feelings in Mexico. I mean, the government, of course, in Mexico, they hate the tariffs, that have been imposed by President Trump. Why? Because I think 70% of what Mexico exports comes to the United States. So their economy will be tremendously affected, if they don't work out with President Trump. That's number one. But let me tell you something more important, Christopher. I received a phone call like a couple of weeks ago of a good friend of mine from Guadalajara, Mexico. He used to live here across the border, okay?
Yeah.
Just across the border. He had to leave because of the cartels. He used to own a big recycling company. And they never let him work. They were, asking him for money all the time. So he went to live. He just left from here, went to Guadalajara, Mexico. And this is what he told me. He said, Rolando, we love President Trump, and we pray that God uses President Trump to fight the cartels in Mexico. Why? Because there's no business in Mexico without paying the cartels a tariff every month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not one business. Every business in Mexico has to pay to the cartels every month.
That don't surprise me. That does not surprise me one bit. Well, I'm glad that there is a favorable feeling to us, and I do maybe because we got our sort of a brand new audience now that we had when you very first came on our show for the very first time. I met you in 2019 with Bianca. We came down there the first time. We went down to the border feeding, and we met you there, and you was telling me your testimony of how the cartels. If you've not heard Rolando's testimony, we're going to get him back on and do it at a regular time one night. It'll bless you, and it just shows you why he's here. God had a reason why he's here and what he's doing to help the country. He's another patriot, and because Rorlando should have been dead, to be frank with you, but thank God he's not. But maybe sometime we can get you to give your testimony as to what happened to you. But do you think that the danger of the cartels has increased or decreased now that Trump's in office?
You know what, Christopher? I really believe it's decreasing a little bit. Thank God for that. It's decreasing, but it's still dangerous. Okay?
Right.
It's still very dangerous. Yeah. But it's decreasing because this is what I've heard, that some cartel leaders in Mexico, they already have family, close relatives that are in the hands of the U.S. Of the I don't know if it's the FBI or the DEA or whatever.
Right.
But Trump is Trump has, I think, a couple of Navy chiefs on both sides of the one on the Gulf of America.
Okay.
And another one at the other by California over there. And they have all these drones investigating where exactly in Mexico they make the fentanyl to come to, that comes to America. So the cartels know that they are being watched right now under President Trump. And now that President Trump have raised, the danger of the cartels to the terrorist level. The United States has the right to overcome the cartels in Mexican territory any moment. So what we have to do, or what we need, Christopher, is for the Mexican government to work with President Trump to overthrow the cartels and just get rid of them. It would be great, if Mexico would be free from these demonic people. I'm sure you found out that like an hour outside of Guadalajara, Mexico, there's a ranch. They found this ranch, Christopher, where they have been killing young kids. Like they kidnap people, they kidnap girls and boys, and if they don't agree to work with the cartels, they just kill them.
I know.
They found this plane with thousands of kids, that they were missing, and they're dead now. I mean, they found that they're actually dead, and we have to finish with this, Christopher. This is not only not good for Mexico; it's not good for America. We cannot afford to have these criminals right next to our border. It's not safe.
Well, I couldn't have said it better, buddy. I was just sitting there thinking and looking at the calendar. Do you realize that it's been 4 years this week? This was the week I was down at the border because it was the first week of April. I got sick at the end of April, and my second grandson, I wasn't even able to be there for his birth because I was so sick with COVID. So it would have been this week that I was down there with you for the third time. And I think what I'm going to try to do is find these videos. I'm looking for them tonight, but I can't seem to find them. But we did some wonderful videos together, and you took me around the city. And Rorlando, I tell you, it's been a crazy 4 years since that time, and I'm grateful to hear that things are sort of getting better down there. And but I still believe, like you, I think the cartel, sometimes when you corner an animal and corner a snake, they tend to be more dangerous now because they're still, and I think what you was hitting on about their influence in our government, I think it reaches into Congress. I think they've got their hands in several hooks into a lot of people in our government, and I think that's one of the reasons these Dems are fighting so hard to keep these illegals here. And I'll ask you this, and I'll let you go. Do you think there's going to come an exposure to that under President Trump? Do you think that Pam Bondi and Patel and Hexteth and Holman have got the stamina to see this through to the end? Because it's going to get hot, man. These Dems don't like this. The cartels don't like it. The courts don't like it. And it's going to take some fortitude and courage to get this seen through to the end. I believe they can do it if they'll stay true, but they don't need to cave to pressure.
You know what, Christopher? I really believe President Trump is going to try his best to end up with the cartels in Mexico.
Okay.
He's going to try everything in his power to do it. And I really hope and pray that maybe one day I'll be able to be in front of President Trump just to encourage him to do it. I received a visit like almost 3 months ago. This senator came from Mexico. I met him. I never met him before, but a friend of mine. He's like the right hand of the mayor here in that little city of Hidalgo where I live. And he's a good friend of mine, and he called me and he said, "Rorlando, we're gonna have the visit of this senator, from Mexico City, and he wants to talk to you." So I said, "Oh, great!" So we went. They came, and we went to this coffee place here in McAllen, and we had some coffee together. But this is the idea that we have for this year, Christopher. I may get a group of senators using, or with the help of this senator. They already came here to the Valley. I would like to take a group of Mexican senators and take them to Congress in Washington, and so they can have meetings and just make like in person, so they can make publicly, to in Congress, for them to know exactly what's going on in Mexico with the cartels.
Right. Well, all I guys, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's nothing like, because one thing is to hear from far away, and another thing is to have a senator from the country where all these things are happening and explain to you, in detail what's going on. And that's the plan that we have now. Keep us in your prayers. I really want to take a group of Mexican senators to Congress and start like this relationship, this friendship, a little closer, so these two countries can work, in a better way from now on, Mexico and the USA.
Me too.
There's nothing, Christopher, just to give you an idea. If a Mexican, let me say it, farmer, a big Mexican farmer, wants to buy 5 or 10 tractors for his farm in Texas, he has to import these tractors into Mexico. He has to pay the Mexican government a 16% tariff on the tractors. Plus, they have to pay the cartels another tariff.
Wow.
So, that cannot be possible. Why? Because the Mexican farmers or the Mexican business people, they're tied. They have to share with the cartels. And the business between Mexico and Texas, or Mexico and the USA, is not going, the way it should be. That is not okay. We have to clean and to pave the road for business for both countries. And the only way is taking the cartels away from the business. And also, I hope, Christopher, that also the Mexican tariff.
Has there been any vetting? Corey Aguilar's got a question. I'll let you go after this. She says, are most Tran Diagro illegals getaways, or just because there was no vetting whatsoever? Do you think that there was any vetting to have so many of these gangs like that come across the border? I think it's a little bit of both. I think it was the Biden policy of not vetting anybody, but I think many of them got away when they got across the border, Orlando. And again, if you don't vet at the border, there's no telling who you got in that mix. You've told me this 100 times, man. There is no telling how many terrorists, what factions are in this country right now. I think it's improving, but I still believe there's enough sleeper cells in this country. If they wanted to do some damage to America, they could do it.
Look, there was no vetting, Christopher, because the Border Patrol was so tired. They were working almost like 18, 20 hours a day, every Border Patrol agent. Why? We did not have enough Border Patrol agents, for the 15 or 18 million people that crossed, to the U.S. So if they went, to do like the right paperwork and everything to come in, it was like, let's do it fast. They didn't have any time for vetting. Plus, we had thousands and thousands of gotaways.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, listen, buddy, just a couple of things. If you get in front of President Trump and you don't take me with you, I'm going to come down to that border. You better not. Don't be like the butler was to Joseph and the baker when he said, "Don't forget me," and they get out of prison and they forget him. Don't forget your buddy down here in Tennessee if you get those invitations. Okay, say, "Hey, I need to bring a buddy with me." And I'd like to go with you when you go to Congress. To be honest with you, I'd cover that live. We do some live shows for that. Hey, it's been good stuff tonight. And listen, I appreciate you doing this. And Stephen, I'm going to answer your question after I get off the phone with Rorlando. But buddy, listen, I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you in person. You know, anytime you come through these parts, I don't care what time of the night or day it is, you've got a welcome mat here at my house, and I'm looking forward. I'm planning on a 4th trip down to the border sometime later this year. I know the spring has gotten away from me because we've got so many of these conferences going on, but I do want to come down and do some shows again from the border this year and see you when you're there and I'm there together. And we just want you to know we appreciate what you're doing, and you, my friend, are the fine American and the patriot. You have locked some miles on those cars and trucks of yours to go help these candidates in these other states. We got people who won't even help candidates in their own state. You'll go, Wisconsin's not a skip and a jump. That's about 1,500 miles to your north, man. And for you to go up there and help that Supreme Court justice try to get elected, all I got to say, I tip my cowboy hat to you, bro. I'm telling you, I appreciate you. I do. I really do.
And it was cold, Christopher.
Yeah, I bet it was cold. Exactly.
Oh, yes. But you know what? I really thank God for the opportunity. I really believe that if we don't do something, we can lose this beautiful country. And this is the time for us to fight. But more than that, Christopher, we have to pray for America. We have to keep President Trump in prayer every day, and all his, all the people around him. And if we don't do something right now, we can lose this beautiful country. And
I'll agree.
I just don't want that to happen.
No, I'll agree, buddy. And I think that's well said. Listen, I appreciate you staying up with me tonight. Get some rest. I'll be in touch with you, and it's always a pleasure, man. This worked out beautifully tonight. You were great, and I'm glad the Lord laid you on my heart. I'm glad you came on and to be with us tonight on this late night special.
Well, blessings for you and blessings for every one of your followers. God bless you all.
Bless you, Rorlando. Have a good night, buddy. I'll be in touch, man. Thank you.
You too. Good night.
Good night, Rorlando. Rorlando Rodriguez, everybody. Put some fire in that house. We're right at 1 hour and 5 minutes. Stephen, Sharia law is not outlawed by the federal government. States, Oklahoma being one of them. Texas, it's got Texas' attention. I think Abbott and them, under law, they passed a resolution. The states are making it illegal for the Islamic movements to have any kind of foothold of Sharia law in any of their states. But as far as federal government goes, there's no law against it. It falls under the freedom of religion clause of the Constitution. To be frank with you, people can practice Islam. What they can't do is usurp the laws of the nation. And, it gets back to this age-old argument that has been used against Christians about the separation of church and state. And it's funny, the only people they apply that to are Christian believers. And all I would say is this. God actually teaches separation of church and state. The church has no business being in the bed with the government. And the government has no business being in the bed with the church. But what the Bible don't teach is separation of God and state. And that's a spiritual matter. And there is nothing in that Islamic charter, there is nothing in Sharia law that makes a nation and lines up that nation with what God would want for a people. You look at these Arab countries, you look at the death, you look at the oppression, you look at the strict. I think that the best way to describe it, if you'll go back and read the stories of the atrocities that ISIS perpetrated on that caliphate that it dug out back in 2010 and 2011 under Obama, because he called them the junior varsity team and didn't do nothing to them. Trump comes in, obliterates him in about 6 months or less, and now they've taken a foothold again in Syria. And we got nearly 20,000 Christians we can't even account for, and they're presumed dead. And anybody that they quote-unquote felt was loyal to for the dictator Bashar al-Assad, and I keep going back to Bashar al-Assad. Al-Assad was not a good man. He still ain't a good man. His daddy was a butcher. He was a butcher. He was a tyrant of tyrants. But this is the crazy thing about Bashar al-Assad that I cannot explain. He was friendly to the Christian faith in Syria. He never overtly went after Christians. He ruled his country with a fist, but he did not persecute the Christian faith in Syria. He did everything he could to protect the minorities. And when this lovely government of Joe Biden had to have some kind of victory in the Middle East, and they overthrew his government, and we were behind it, they didn't even think 2 feet beside their noses. And again, that's an oxymoron with the Joe Biden crew of the past, about thinking with their heads instead of their blanking backsides. They didn't realize that what they did was produce a vacuum in which most conservatives warned would happen, that you'd get a jihadist government in there that would start slaughtering Christians. And here we are 3 months in, and guess what they're doing? They're slaughtering Christians. And this thing in Texas, folks, this is serious business. I've seen that compound. We showed you the pictures of it the other night. And I don't see how in the world Texas did not catch this until now, that this was going on down there. I mean, that's another discussion for another time. But to your question, Stephen, it's about the states. There are some states that have outlawed it. There's other states that haven't. So federally, there's no law on the books that says you can't practice it. But if it goes against the laws of the country, if it goes against the Constitution and people's freedom, then you get into a different scenario. I personally think it's a tough call because of the freedom of religion issue. You can't, look, as much as we Christians want America to have the laws favor us, and they should be, there need to be godly laws on the books. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. A righteous government is going to push righteous laws. An ungodly government is going to push unrighteous laws. And I'm all for that. But you can't just highlight Christianity and say no other religions can practice. Unfortunately, and it's a blessing and a curse on us in America, unlike other nations. And Orlando hit it. We can't go to another nation, folks. There ain't no other nation on this earth right now that you can go practice Christianity in without some kind of resistance. None. I mean, the people of UK, the UK is gone. Britain right now is absolutely smoke and toast. I don't have time tonight to talk about it. There was a mother of two. She posted a post on X about the immigration issue there. And expressed her displeasure at how the government was handling these illegals. And guess what's happened to her tonight? She's facing a 20-year jail term. Leeds, England is under rioting tonight. It's under fire. I mean, literally, people are burning down the buildings, and then you start seeing the videos of that. It sounds to me like an Islamic uprising in Leeds, England tonight. That's the second or third largest city in the UK. So we can't practice our faith anywhere else but America, at least on the surface. There may be look, I know Benjamin Netanyahu has been wrongly accused of doing things to hinder Christian faith, and I disagree with that. Benjamin Netanyahu, he's Jewish. He believes in Judaism. But these reports have been nothing but fabricated by anti-Semites that Israel is seeking to remove Christianity from its. Look, Benjamin Netanyahu may be a lot of things to people, but I will tell you this: he understands that his best friend right now, his only friend right now, and the only people that really truly care about his nation are the Christians, at least the true ones. We're the ones that are praying for the peace of Jerusalem every day. We're praying for him. We're praying for their nation. And we will stand with him, and we'll stand up, many with our lives, to defend Israel's right to exist. He knows that. And he ain't stupid. But outside of Israel, I would dare say, ask and even Australia, and Cleo can speak to this more than I can, but it's not that fun to be a Christian in Australia. It's not like they're overtly persecuting people, but I'm going to tell you, it's not America. It's just not America. But it is amazing how we allow other religions to come into our land, and if somebody wants to practice Islam or practice Buddhism or practice Shintoism or any other ism, they're free to do it, because under our Constitution we have the freedom of religion, and that's just the way it is. So I hope that answers your question, Stephen. Hope that answers your question, buddy. Anyway, Cedric says, how can Trump go after the cartels when the cartel princes is the president of Mexico? Oh, he can go after him. I'll look at it this way. If that Mexican president is sending these cartels over with, that's an act of war to me, Cedric. That's why Chris ain't president. Y'all would disown me. I wouldn't put up with it. If I found out that she is actively sending these cartels across that border to create havoc in this country, to me that's an act of war. I'd give her 48 hours or less, maybe 72 if I am in a good mood, and I would tell her, you cease to do that, and if I find out that any of these cartel members we're arresting were here on your behalf, you're going to have problems with the United States of America. And I would not be passing go and collecting $200. I tell you what, they would know that this is unacceptable behavior. We're not going to take your cartels in here to kill our people. So that's how you handle the princes of Mexico, Cedric. So yeah, Trump can do it. I think that that's the extreme. That's the most harshest response. He can put sanctions on them economically, and that's what's happening right now. I mean, he's sanctioning Mexico to death. I mean, he's not messing around with these tariffs, folks. I'm telling you. He put 104% tariff on China tonight, and China's digging in. We're gonna fight this to the death. We're gonna fight this to the end. It's like Willie E. Coyote. I'm gonna get that Roadrunner, and yeah. Baghdad Bob. Xenophobic Z. Good Lord have mercy. Keep fighting, China. Your egg rolls are bad for us, but I do like them. But you're gonna rue the day that you do this. I'm telling you, it's not going to be good for these countries, folks. They need us more than we need them. That's all I got to say about the tariff thing with China. But anyway, with Islam, there is no separation of politics and religion. Carol, that's an excellent point. There's not. No. In most of these Islamic countries, Islam runs the government. Look at Iran, Iraq, all of them. Saudi Arabia to a degree, but it's like I said last night, folks, and I mentioned it on the radio program either yesterday or today. Look, there are no such things as moderate Muslims. I know people use that term and they say, well, the Muslims are moderate. No, if the Muslims obeyed their holy book, we'd all be dead. If they would kill every Christian and Jew they could find, probably most Americans. The thing that troubles me about all this, even this thing in Texas, is we don't really know just how many are here, thanks to Mr. Joe Criminal Biden. This onslaught of illegal aliens coming across the border over the last 4 years, folks, we have absolutely no idea. I mean, I think Holman is doing, I give Tom Holman an A+. I do. I think for the short time that he's had to deal with this and the not knowing where all these people went. I don't know who it was that asked Corey about did they get away? There was no vetting. We know there was no vetting, but there's no telling how many hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, maybe millions, hopefully not that many. But look, folks, we have no idea who's here. And I think that he's doing his best to find them. He's doing his best, but he's just one man, and the courts ain't making it easy. Now, We don't have time. It's 1 o'clock in the morning in the East. This is a midnight special. It's not a 1 o'clock in the morning special. Join us tomorrow on the K-Star Talk radio show because it's Wednesday. Now, we may have an afternoon show tomorrow because I do have some news to share with you. The courts gave Trump 3 big wins. One of the wins, though, did not come with the help of Amy Coney Barrett. And I've got some things to say about Miss Barrett, and they're not going to be nice. And I will deal with that tomorrow. But I do want to play a couple of videos for you tonight. If y'all bear with me just about 10 more minutes. Let's see here. Why is it not doing this? Every time I get a new computer, get to another computer. This is an interesting take. John Solomon, let me see. Is this it? This is the Leeds riot. This is what I was telling you about earlier. There's some news about this. Look at that. That's tonight. That sounded Islamic to me. Something's going on in Leeds, England tonight. So we'll be following that story tomorrow. Here is Marco Rubio, and I think Marco Rubio sums up the Hamas situation in Israel as good as anybody did. And this is why the media sucks. And water is wet, and the sky is blue, and all of these media outlets are insane, and they're the enemy of America. They're the enemy of you. That just rhymes. I need to make a song out of that. Water is wet, sky is blue, the enemy sucks, and they're the enemy of you.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire?
No, I will not.
Gaza?
On the
Senator
contrary.
Rubio,
Are you filming it?
Wait,
I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. Hamas should stop building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's horrifying. I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
Make sure you post that, please. Way to go, Marco. I like him. I think he's another one doing a great job. I really, really do. Let's see here. Goodness, we got so much to talk about. Still ran out of time tonight before I did it. I will be ready tomorrow, though. We got tomorrow and Thursday. And don't miss the show tomorrow. This is the interesting thing. This is an absolute disgrace. Amy Coney Barrett, Trump, the Supreme Court stopped 3 orders. The first order was, speaking of the Trey Diagra gang members, MS-13s, Roberts and 4 other justices, the MS-13, Trump deported him. He said he can deport him. He's got the right to do that. The jurisdiction lies with him, not the courts. The only thing that they said that bothers me, and I'll talk about this more tomorrow, they believe that these people have rights to habeas corpus. I do not. Carol Smith, I got your email, and I'm with you. The SCOTUS does not need to be ruling that these people have got habeas corpus. They do not. There needs to be a law passed by Congress. Congress needs to step in and say, no, we don't recognize the rights of illegals, because they have no rights, folks. They got a right to exist and live, but they got a right to exist and live in their own country. That we don't owe these people anything. I don't know where this crap comes from that we owe them something, that we owe them habeas corpus, we owe them money, we owe them benefits, we owe them this, and we owe them that in the name of humanitarianism. They're taking these rights and they're shoving it in our face with their middle finger up behind it. This right here is what's the worst of America. It's Amy Coney Barrett. I mean, I'm serious. She is what represents what is the absolute worst of America. And Trump praised her. He gave her a good job. Probably, was one of the... he could have picked a lot of other people for her position. I still see that image in my mind of her at the State of the Union address and I've got a clip of it. I've got somewhere we need to download. I'm back home tonight. I'm in between cities right now and going from one computer to the next. I lose some stuff. I try to keep it in one place, but it's hard sometimes. But I had a clip, and most of you saw it, the way she looked at Trump that night on the Supreme Court at the State of the Union, and the Supreme Court justices were sitting down there. And I don't know what her beef is with Trump. I don't. But she's got one. And I might as well say it, and I said it on the radio today. You know what this is coming down to? It's not even about the liberals versus the conservatives on the court anymore. It's the man versus the woman. It's the 5 men and the 4 women. And I might as well say it tonight. Ladies, I love you. But this is why we don't need women running this country. Now, if the men would do their job, we wouldn't have to turn to women. I am not a big fan, never have been a big fan, of putting women justices on the Supreme Court. Sandra Day O'Connor was one woman on a panel of 8 men for many, many decades. And then we opened the floodgates with Clinton, with Kagan and Sotomayor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I guess Clinton's big woman was Bader Ginsburg, most liberal justice he could put on there. Ruth Bader Ginsburg single-handedly probably killed more than 1 million babies with the way she ruled with abortion. Sandra Day O'Connor wasn't far behind. At this rate, Amy Coney Barrett, the only thing that she can say that people can point to as an accomplishment is that she stood firm on abortion. I'm surprised. So, love me, hate me, say what you want to, but when you get down to what's happened over the last just 2 months, the women have sided against Trump. When John Roberts swings, it's when the court goes either way. Amy Coney Barrett hadn't voted with Trump on hardly anything since he's been in office. And I'm just wondering how much influence these liberal women are having on her, because now what you've basically gotten at the Supreme Court is a gender war. It ain't even an ideology war anymore. It's not a good thing. I got more to say about that, but Chris is so tired, I'd probably stick my foot in my mouth at 1 o'clock in the morning. Kudos to Rubio. I thought he said that pretty well. Alrighty, let me get out of here before I get myself in so much trouble that I can't see straight. And Ellen, we love you folks in Oregon too. We love you folks in Oregon too. We really do. Oregon. Good to see everybody in Facebook tonight. We've had a pretty good crowd. We had almost 200 live viewers tonight, and this to be this late at night, that's pretty good. All you late night folks, y'all must not have a life to stay up and listen to this old knucklehead for an hour and 15 minutes, but I'm tired, and we're going to regroup. We'll be back tomorrow. See you on the radio tomorrow afternoon, 2 to 3. We'll talk about a lot of this, a lot of the stories from today. And I wish I had more time to talk about it tonight, but I don't. And may the Lord bless you tonight. I hope you have a good night's rest. Now, you folks out west, it's not quite your bedtime, but it's getting close. But you folks in the east, it's time to get some Z's. Get some Z's. May the Lord bless you. I'll see you. We got some announcements. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Faith Show. Be back here in the morning with me on the Faith Network. Had a great Bible study. If you're in Facebook, you all are nailing it. I tell you, we've got an audience almost of 1,000 people in the morning on our Bible studies. I'm very honored and proud about that. Thank you all for listening on Facebook in the mornings. We appreciate it. You YouTube folks, Faith Network, be with me, and X as well, and then the Rumble folks. We'll be back on Rumble tomorrow night. May the Lord bless you. Take care. A lot to say, but as I said, it's my time's out for tonight. You have a great night out there. Be blessed. Be safe. Hasta la vista. Good night.